Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Lair of Filmaru. Tonight we will be reviewing Afareta Shoko Goyu de Seke Sakuyo, also known as Afareta, from Commonplace to World's Strongest. The ordinary life of 17-year-old otaku Hajime Nagamo is disrupted when he and his classmates are summoned to a fantasy world and tasked with saving mankind. While his classmates are gifted with impressive abilities useful in combat, Hajime is belittled for only gaining an inferior transmutation skill that lacks any real offensive power. During an expedition in the Great Orcus Labyrinth, Hajime is betrayed by one of his classmates, plummeting him to the bottom of an abyss. Though he survives the fall, Hajime is faced with menacing monsters and misfortunes that send him spiraling into a grim nightmare. Despite desperate to live and return home, one day he resolves to fight for his survival, only to meet an imprisoned vampire he names Yue, who is also seeking to escape the labyrinth. Taking an interest in him along the way, accompany Hajime on his journey to find a way back home, while the steadily transforming from commonplace to the world's strongest. Okay, so we just did Rising of the Shield Hero before this. So I decided to do another Isekai that I was very fascinated with around the time that Shield Hero came out. And I gotta say, while the main character can be overpowered, by a lot, I do enjoy his story about the same as Rising of the Shield Hero. I mean, when you're given one of the most useless abilities in your class, which is being able to create certain materials using the power to build, pretty much, which, I mean, you got that in Fortnite, you've got that in Minecraft, you've got that in many, many games, but here it's kind of treated like the ability to be a blacksmith, pretty much. And I mean, it does work for the character. I mean, after almost dying, losing his arm, losing his eye, and almost bleeding to death, I mean, Hajime comes up pretty well off once he starts eating monsters, which it does sound kind of gross, but he eats them raw until he tries cooking them, which also makes them taste even more gross, surprisingly. And actually, I think the point of it was, So What I'm a Spider actually took some idea from this. We see how gross it is for that character, even as a spider, to eat other creatures, showing that monsters are pretty gross. I'd describe it as kind of eating slime, which, double gross. And I mean, it almost kills Hajime. I mean, luckily, it doesn't because of his new addiction to holy water, and he doesn't explode from the inside from eating such horrible food. He gains all these powers, and I mean, we do see this work for a while, and it does help him get through the labyrinth and get to Yue, the vampire that we mentioned, but this is kind of the, we don't see this happen again after the labyrinth. It's not that big of a deal, where most of the time, after the labyrinth, him and Yue use the powers that they gain from the labyrinth, or Hajime uses his guns, or his giant pile driver, which does have a pretty funny scene later on that we will mention. He's this world's arms dealer, pretty much, creating all these guns from gunpowder and other materials that he can find, which is very creative compared to most heroes, where it kind of gets me thinking, why is this character the only one that's ever figured out how to make guns in the medieval world? Like, did no other Isekai protagonist think of this? I mean, he doesn't have to use a short sword with this. Like, one of his guns literally acts as a sword. I think it's his sniper rifle, and he kicks ass with it. I mean, he also makes a sub, he makes a Hummer, which is actually the reason I asked that one question in one of my shorts about what came first, the Hummer or the phrase giving a Hummer, which we did give the answer to that in another short. So keep watching our shorts. Surprisingly, he hasn't created a plane yet. He creates a motorcycle. He just creates all these amazing things, and while it does kind of make him overpowered, I mean, the guy literally creates torpedoes and a rocket launcher. It's not always, like, while he can kill most monsters, once he starts getting up to the range of trying to kill demons or gods, he does have some trouble. Like, he does almost die a few times. Luckily, he had Yue or Karin, I believe, one of his friends is called. Who is a priestess from his world. There's also... Oh wait, no, her name is Kaori. They also have Shia, who is the badass bunny girl who comes a long way despite still being kind of a ditz. Similar... I'm gonna just start connecting these characters to Konosuba characters. I mean, Kazuma is pretty much the hugely downgraded version of Nagamo, because Nagamo is a fucking badass, and as soon as you see him gain the white hair, you instantly assume that he's going to become this world's Dante, because he is so fucking cool, and so badass, and so not against killing certain people. I mean, he literally kills one of his classmates because he finds out in the second season that they were the reason why he almost died in that labyrinth. He also kills another to save their teacher, and just... the guy is a fucking badass. You also, like I said, Shiori, she's technically Megami in this, and she's got a giant mallet that Nagano made for her, and she's just... it actually also works as kind of like a gun hammer, and it's just so awesome, and she's a decent character, trying to constantly get with Hajime. I mean, this is an isekai harem. You also have Tio, this is what I was talking about with the pile driver, where he takes one of the giant spikes that he has for the pile driver, and he, because this dragon attacks him and his teacher and a bunch of his classmates and this one noble, he beats her, and then as soon as he gets her on the ground, he jams it up her ass, and it's like, this is this universe's version of darkness. Like, this is a masochistic pervert in the sense of turning it up to 100. Like, this, she is just darkness in a nutshell in this series. And I constantly started calling her Darkness number 2, because the show did come up did come out after Konosuba. We also have Miyu, who we meet later on with the gang. She's a mermaid girl that gets captured, and Nagano saves her and treats her like his daughter until they return her to her mother in the second season, and he promises to come back for her when he finally finds out how to go back to Japan. I did kind of forgot to mention that Yu is a immortal vampire who got imprisoned because she was too powerful compared to everyone, and she was betrayed, so that's why Nagano brings her along with him, because they are kindred spirits in being betrayed, and he is very much in love with her, while there is a weird harem going on where Yui and Nagano love each other, but also Kaori has a crush on Nagano and promised to protect him at the beginning, but ultimately failed. Shio has a huge crush on Nagano and has kind of a partnership with Yue to get with him. And then there's Tio, who's just the group's pervert. There's also this really interesting fish named Riemann, who is the obvious reference to the Fishman series. I think it was actually called Seaman, and it sounds weird, because it's a fish with a man's face, which, Japan, what the fuck is with your idea of certain games? Like, what the hell? I mean, they do it tastefully here, where it's like it's like if you're looking at a handsome Squidward from that one SpongeBob episode, and just put his face on a fish. It's just, I mean, he does help later on after Nagano frees him, after technically getting him captured because of he gets launched from one of the labyrinths, actually the very first labyrinth. They meet him for the first time, which inevitably gets him captured, and then Nagano frees him because of Shia, because they were on a date for that episode, and then this leads to them saving Miyu, and then it leads into him saving them from the labyrinth close to Miyu's home, and that is the last we've seen of him so far until we see him in, hopefully, the third season, because, let's be honest, he is kind of a good character, despite being a fish with a human face. Pretty much the story is mainly about Nagano and his harem as they go around trying to hunt these labyrinths, gaining rings so that they can go back to Japan, all of them trying to go back, while also inadvertently saving the world from gods and demons and their classmates. And it's just a fun concept, and it's an interesting idea for Isekai, despite the overpowered character. And it's just a fun show to watch if you're really looking for something good. So yeah, I highly recommend it with a 10 out of 10. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the little notification bell for more of our content. And have a great night, guys.